Hello and welcome to the movie poster assignment for ART120 illustration. Since the early days of cinema, posters have played a major role in the perception and the attraction of the films. So we're going to look at some of the most successful movie posters, and we're going to explore exactly what it takes to make a film poster iconic and intriguing to the public. So the first thing is you need to do your research. You need to look for previous design iterations to see what has been done in the past and to really see what you can do differently. Here we can see an example of Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, one of my favorite films. And it's been around for a little bit of time, so there's several design iterations as well as several examples of fan art that you can find as well. And these can be both helpful to see what has been done in the past and how you can do it differently, and to also get some inspiration and some ideas. See what color schemes might be used in the past to communicate that particular film. In this case, obviously, it's kind of in the title there, so the orange is going to be the predominant color in a lot of these references, but that might be some sort of inspiration for you as well. And really, when we're working on these movie posters, one of the important things to think about is you need to capture the essence of the film. It's important to reflect the movie as much as possible without giving away the entire plot. So the posters for the Ready Player One that we can see here in this example on the left, it's really capturing some of the essence of technology as well as these video games that are referenced throughout the film, bringing a lot of action and also introducing one of the main characters as well as one of the focal points involved here. And then over here on the right, we have an example of Guardians of the Galaxy. And again, it's using a key element from the movie, following the essence of being this sort of cool and collected when this individual is fighting, and sort of following some of that inspiration there as well. So doesn't necessarily mean that if it's an action film, it all has to be completely action-packed, but you still want to follow the overall essence of the film. Here's an example from the Harry Potter films that we can see, and this is a good example of this. Generally, the film revolves around this conflict between two sides, good and evil, and we have Harry and Voldemort here. And it's very much the dominating theme of the movie, and this has been clearly depicted here with them opposing each other on either sides. So the posters here have captured the seriousness and also the dark essence of the movie. The characters are in a battle, and they're bruised and they're bleeding, and they're also full of determination and animosity towards one another as well. And in the first poster over here on the left, we can see a scene from the film has been used to give us insight into what to expect. And this movie was heavily anticipated, so the main purpose of the posters was really to announce the release date and spark even more excitement. So there was really very simple titling. In fact, all it says is it all ends 7.15. So the use of all caps really heightens the sense of drama and the importance of this. And furthermore, it takes the huge reach and public awareness of the movie. And there was really no longer any need to even have a title on the posters, which is pretty amazing. And it allowed for the design to stay simple and focused on getting the atmosphere of the movie across without any unnecessary elements there. Now, this is probably not going to be the case for your film, and obviously we need to have titles with ours. But you can see how they are accomplishing this in two different ways in this example here. So capturing the essence of the movie in the poster is essential, and it's the key component that dictates all the design choices that you'll be making throughout this project. So a pretty obvious but crucial way to do this is to allow the genre to dictate the design decisions that you're making. So if it's a comedy, you want to get across the lighthearted atmosphere with a picture of the cast sort of smiling, or by creating a bizarre or somewhat ridiculous scene or collage. Here we can see the National Lampoon's Animal House poster for the film, and it has all these different characters doing crazy things in the house, and it all has them sort of smiling and interacting with another. It feels very lighthearted and definitely wouldn't be mistaken for a horror film, right? Um, and here for Crazy Rich Asians, we can see this example where it's a little bit cleaner, still sort of following some of the elements involved with the film, but not necessarily reaching towards one genre more than another, as much as it would just kind of fall in this neutral drama that we would find for this. So if it's a comedy, you want to get that across. Similarly, if you're designing a poster for a drama or a horror film, you want to make it intense so that the viewer feels that uneasiness and feels sort of anxious. So this is a way that you'll appeal to the target viewers, as this is exactly what they are looking to experience when watching the movie. Here you can see an example for the Evil Dead, and this hand is popping out of the ground here, and within the hand it's sort of acting as a clipping mask to this interior scene of this forest with this house in there. So a lot of action, sort of excitement, and this element of suspense that you get from watching the film. Over here on the right, we can see a poster for the Jungle Book, and it's actually utilizing the stripes within the tiger to then tell an additional story of the boy with the snake in the woods here, and sort of following along with some of that. So very playful, lighthearted, sort of playful tones that feel a little bit more youthful, but also following these brush strokes, which sort of feel humanistic and sort of get you in touch with a nature sort of feel that they would be following for this sort of film. The iconic Jaws poster is also a good example of this. It features a chilling image of a shark just about to reach the unsuspecting swimmer on the surface. And once again, the poster recreated a key idea of the plot, and even though this is not the scariest horror movie poster by far, it still gets across the feeling of suspense and terror that the viewers are after. So the most effective movie posters are iconic in presenting the themes in the film without resorting to flat out saying what it's about. So they use imagery, whether a close-up of the character or an item that's a major plot point or a simple graphic, to establish the film's plot. And this is combined with eye-grabbing design, and can be an incredibly effective way to gain attention and create interest at once. So here on the left, we can see this example for Star Wars, and it has several iconic elements inside of it, of the Death Star, as well as Darth Vader's mask there. And then for Black Swan, it's again using some iconic elements of the swan and the ballet dancer in the background, sort of silhouetted. Here we can see this example for Baby Driver, and it's actually using some substitution here, where it's taking away the steering wheel and replacing it with this record or this vinyl, sort of playing into the idea that this film has a lot to do with the music involved in the film and how it inspires the actor as well. So it's sort of tying into that overall plot. These illustrations for the movie Mother, these were created by the artist James Jean, and they show the featured characters in these unique settings, and each individual is holding elements that relate back to the plot of the film and create a lot of interest and a lot of excitement going on about these characters and what this film might be about. So effective images, what images will be on your poster, and how are you going to use them to convey the plot of this film? So one option is to choose a scene from the movie and to make it a focal point, as demonstrated by many of the film posters that we looked at so far, or to get the main characters on the cover to recreate a scene, or facing the viewer of the facing the viewers as well on the poster. So another option is to think of memorable features or objects associated with the film, and you could use that. So an example would be here the poster It, and the key focus is on the red balloon and this innocent small child here. And although the main character is Pennywise, we only see a glimpse of his arm actually coming out of the shadows, and only a very slight trace of his reflection on the balloon there. But it creates a lot of interest. The designer of the poster chose to use this iconic red balloon as a key symbol of the plot. And another thing to note about this design is the choice of the colors. The vibrant red and yellow are a stark contrast to that deep darkness surrounding them, which allows the focus to stay on the essential images. So whatever you do, the key is not to oversaturate the image or the poster with various pictures. Minimalism can work amazingly well, as demonstrated by this highly effective It poster. So colors, using contrasting colors is going to help attract the attention, and the designers did that for the poster for It there. And you can also think of using primary or dominating colors that will cover the majority of the poster's surface and pair them with a complementary color to create some sort of visual interest. So here on the left we see this example for Red Sparrow. And this poster design is made from this sort of blood red color that's the dominating choice. And it's a color that reflects the destruction and the violence that is involved in this film. And the remaining colors here are either complementary or sort of neutral in the background. And then on the right, we see this example for Wonder Woman. And this poster uses a sort of muted palette to reflect the reference of the imagery and the connection of the character to her past. And then uses a contrasting orange to highlight areas of the image and sort of lead the viewer's eye from one spot of the image to another. So the text on your poster is also very important to consider, even in your early sketch phases. So the text used in the poster includes a few different aspects. It's going to be your film title, it's going to be the tagline, it's going to be the language style, as well as the fonts that you are going to use for this. So firstly, the title of the poster needs to be included, and you need to think about how you're going to use that. And is it going to be incorporated into the illustration, as we can see here on the right for West Side Story, where it actually becomes part of the staircase that the characters are dancing down? Or even here on the left, where they're sort of substituting the I for the O's here and the L for the nose and sort of substituting that from the face, so it sort of feels like it's interacting with the imagery that we can see there. And you also want to think about if your poster is going to include a short tagline, which can often be very beneficial to the poster's design. And you want to make sure that so for example, here on the left, we see this tagline for Jurassic Park, an adventure 65 million years in the making. As contrasted to the example on the right, it feels much more softer. The overall poster feels a little calmer, and it feels like a more of a whisper after the title, where on the right it's really interacting with the action that's happening. It's sort of put in the same perspective that the camera is going down, and is really at the top of the poster, which is going to be one of the things that you see first. So it almost becomes one of the strongest focal points in the entire poster here. So this tagline will speak to the potential audience, and though posters are primarily a visual form of communication, the textual aspect brings it alive and allows it to connect with the viewers. So make sure all the text, and especially the title, follow the language style of the film and the illustration as well. Here on the left, we can see this example for Drive, and it has these strong brush strokes that feel very 70s or 80s-esque, sort of following the genre that the film is, as well as the illustration that we can see. And over here on the right, this is work by Saul Bass, and he created this titling for Vertigo. And again, it feels very disconjointed to follow the theme of the movie, and also follows the illustrative style that they're focusing on in this illustration. So when it comes to fonts, go with what your film's genre calls for. Whatever fonts you choose, make sure they're easily readable and work well together. So as with images, don't clutter your poster either with text. The less text you have on your poster, the less chaotic it seems, and the easier it is to understand by the passerby. And finally, always include a short summary of the cast and the credits. These are best placed somewhere on the border of the poster or at the top or the bottom. Generally, you're going to find them at the bottom for a lot of the credit information that you will need to include here. So film posters all follow the basic guidelines, so it can be challenging to get really creative with your poster and make it still a unique masterpiece. After all, in order to fulfill its purpose and easily make it recognizable as a movie poster, even from afar, it does need to have an element of generosity to it. The upside of this is that the film poster doesn't have to be difficult. So by focusing on the movie's plot and genre, the key elements of the film will fall into place without much effort. Of course, there is no one-size-fits-all formula, but by choosing suitable imagery and fonts and including an interesting tagline and then adapting these to the movie in question, you will be off to a good start on this project. So how can we begin this project? Well, the first step you need to do is to choose a movie that is preferably well known to be able to, for myself as well as your peers, to give you better feedback and also have better recognition in the future. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to write a synopsis for this movie in your own words. So I want you to think about this as just a simple sum up of the film. You can talk about the genre, the title, the tagline, the characters, the credits, and most importantly, the plot. And as you're writing this story, I really want you to think about some of the imagery that comes to mind as you've seen this film or you're thinking back on this film as well. So begin to brainstorm and create some lists of words associated with your topic. I want you to choose at least 5 of the most prevalent ideas, concepts, or key points of the story. And then we're going to create mood boards based on those 5 ideas with images, 7 to 10 images on each one of those mood boards. So for example, this is a previous student who was working on Lord of the Flies. And one of his 5 ideas was desperation. So for that single idea of desperation, he created a mood board with 7 to 10 images. And you can see that these images vary here. Some of them are actual photos, some of them are drawings, but they all evoke this feeling of desperation and give you ideas and key insight into how you might be able to visualize this feeling. The next idea out of the 5 that he chose was savagery. And again, for that single idea, he collected 7 to 10 images and put that on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So again, savagery can be depicted in a lot of different ways. And I encourage you to choose words that might be a little harder to articulate visually and might be a little bit more obscure, because it will really open the doorway to creating more interesting and unique ideas for your project. And one of the other key ideas that he pulled here was isolation. So again, he pulled 7 to 10 images of isolation and how that might be represented visually to give him some inspiration for his final piece. I then want you to refer back to these reference boards for your sketches and explore some forced connections to see if you can start sketching some compelling imagery. And I want you to utilize, simplification, subtraction, addition, and abstraction, and brainstorm 5 or more strong concepts and sketch them out. So these can be done in this is going to be somewhat of a hybrid of a thumbnail sketch and a finalized sketch. I don't want them to be so rough that we can't see what's going on. I want you to really think about communicating a clear concept and also taking into account the typography and the tagline and where those fonts, what font you're going to choose and where that might be used within the imagery. So I really want these sketches to communicate visually what your final piece is going to look like, or at least be able to get the clear idea of where your concept is going to start and be able to communicate that very clearly. So for this project, you're going to have several deliverables. First, you're going to have your synopsis of the movie in your own words. That can be 1 to 2 paragraphs long. Then you're going to have your research that you collected, the 5 mood boards, and each one of those mood boards are going to be related to a single idea or theme from the movie. And each one of those mood boards is going to have 7 to 10 images on it. So again, you're going to have a total of 5 mood boards and 7 to 10 images for each one of those mood boards. Then you are going to start on your 5 sketches for this. And then you're going to choose one of your sketches from feedback as well as from myself as well as your peers. And from there, you're going to work on your final piece, which will be a flat file PDF of the movie poster at full size. We're going to be working at 27 inches by 40 inches. And then you're also going to place your finished artwork inside a digital mock-up of the final movie poster in context. So please reach out if you have any questions, and refer back to the module for any additional instructions, and please see the assignment sheet as well. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your work.